Hey guys, Seth here from Bridge Solutions, helping you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And today I just want to share with you one of the most important questions your leadership team should start with when beginning the strategic planning process. Let's go. So I've been pastoring a church in Orange County, California for about a year now. And when I arrived, the church was really in the midst of a transition period. They had just sold some property in one city and had relocated to another city. The church membership had changed somewhat from what they were used to. There was a new leadership team in place. And so they were really looking to reevaluate who they were. They wanted some clarity concerning their mission, their vision, their direction, where they're going, what type of church they will be for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And so when I arrived, they were really looking to me to bring that clarity and help them through the rediscovery process of who they were. And so as we began this reevaluation, we pulled the leadership team together, and what we realized was that the most important question we could ask ourselves was not where are we going or who are we or what are we going to do, but the most important question that we needed to start with was why. Yes, okay, why? Why do we preach? Why are we here? Why are we in this city? Why do we have children's ministries? Why are we doing what we do? Why should someone come to our church as opposed to another church? When Jesus was here, he clearly told us what we should be doing. He says, go ye therefore and make disciples. That's the Great Commission, Matthew 28. So we knew what we were supposed to do, but we just wanted to know for ourselves, why do we do that? So we framed it like this. If someone were to come to our church and they pull into our parking lot and they get out of the car and they come into our lobby and they meet our greeters and they ask our greeter this question: why should I come and spend the next 90 minutes of my life in your church listening to your songs and hearing your pastor preach and dropping my kids off at your children's ministry as opposed to driving down the street just 2 miles away and attending another church, same denomination, that has similar music, similar sermon, and similar children's ministry? Why your church as opposed to their church? And as we were answering or attempting to answer that question, what we realized is that we were really differentiating ourselves from other churches based off of what we did. So we would tell that guest, well, you should come to our church because we have good praise and worship, or we have dynamic preaching, or we have a dynamic children's environment. And all the things that we're doing is we're showing them what we do. But what we realized is that people don't necessarily buy what you do. What they buy is why you do it. You see, what many of us do is we fall into this philosophical trap. Because there are so many churches out there, if we're going to get people to come to our church, we have to differentiate ourselves based off of what we do. So we have to have a better praise and worship and better preaching and better ministries and better children's environments and better this and better that, hoping that the person who comes to our church will experience our music, experience our preaching, and they will be so enamored by the programming, by what we do, that they won't even consider another church. That is the fatal flaw. It's a trap. Trust me. But what we realize is that the reason why someone comes to churches and stays at your church is not necessarily because of the dynamic programming, but because there's something else going on that they resonate with. And that something else is generally the why. Okay, so I know you might not feel it because you're saying, okay, that makes no sense because if you don't have a dynamic program, then no one's going to come to your church. And I agree with you on that front. I do agree that you have to have some type of programming that's going to add value to people's lives. I'm not suggesting that you can just lower the standard and not have excellence in ministry and think that because you have a strong, compelling why that someone's going to come. However, what I found is that too often churches will try to place emphasis on the programming, on the what, without having clarity on the why. As a result, you fail to capture the heart of the person. Okay, so let me give you an example. It was 2006. Apple had just released a series of commercials called the Get a Mac campaign. And in these commercials, there were two individuals, one person who represented the Mac and one person who represented the PC. If you're familiar with it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And in these commercials, the Mac and the PC were really differentiating themselves, not really based off of the various programming or what the different features were, but Mac was trying to differentiate itself from a PC based off of their why. Mac's why was, we are rebellious, we are counterculture, we are different, we are blazing a new trail. And if you're different from the norm, and if you're different from what society, if you don't fit that box that society tells you that you need to fit in, then you need to buy a Mac, because this is who we represent. And when I watch those commercials, that is what convinced me to buy a Mac, because I realized I don't want to be a PC, because PCs are square, PCs are traditional, PCs are my uncle and my dad and my grandfather, and I want to be different. I want to be countercultural, and I resonate with Apple's why. And as a result, I've had Apple computers, I've had Apple phones, I have Apple the Apple iPods, I have everything that Apple puts out. I buy it, yes, because it's a great product, but more so because Apple stands for something. Now, when you don't understand your why, and when you don't articulate your why to your congregation and your community, what happens is that you now must constantly provide better programming than the people down the street. And so you'll find yourself always trying to compete based off of what you do. They get a new preacher, you want a new preacher. They get a better praise team, you got to get a better praise team. They take it up a notch, you have to take it up a notch in your children's ministry. Why? Because you recognize your people aren't there for why you do what you do. Your people are only there for what you do. And as soon as a better show comes into town, you are most likely going to lose your people, because they're only there for the what. And as soon as they find a better what, they're going to leave. So as a congregation, as a church, you have to understand, what is our why? And you have to articulate that why. Now, I have to say this, that you cannot copy someone's why. I want to repeat it. You cannot copy someone's why. You can copy someone's what, and you can even copy someone's how. Now, I'll tell you, doing that is a poor strategy. We often do it. It's when you go to that church conference and you hear what all the fastest growing churches are doing. You take down copious notes. You come back to your church board as you're like Moses down from the mountain. You've heard from God, and you begin to implement what other churches are doing, hoping that somehow the results they're getting, you will also get. What you've just done is you've fallen into that failed strategy of copying someone's what. Do not copy another church's what. When it comes to discovering your why, you have to take time, and you can't look out the window to see what other people are doing. You have to look within yourself to see, why are we here? Pull your leadership team together. Have them all sit around the table together and ask that question, and don't move till you get a satisfying answer. Take time and spend it in prayer and say, why are we here? What really drives us? What motivates us? Winning people for the kingdom cannot be your why. Winning people to the kingdom is the product of your why. Making money, if you're a business, can't be your why. That's the product of your why. It has to be something deeper, something more meaningful, something that resonates with who you are, and that when you articulate, it resonates with the community. As a church, we wrestled with this question. We realized, okay, we have to start with why. We have to really figure out what is our why. And as we gain clarity around our why, it really allowed us to gain clarity around our what, around our how, around our when, and around our who. I'll release some other videos in the future going into more detail with those other areas. But I just want to encourage you, if you don't know what your why is, take time, prayerfully get your team together, and start processing, why are we here? There's an excellent resource I want to give you. It's a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. You can find it on Amazon. I'll also include a link in the show notes for you to check it out. It's a wonderful resource for you to read with your leadership team to really understand the importance of why and how you can begin the process of discovering your why. Question of the day: does your church know its why? And if it does, please leave a comment below and let me know what it is. I would love to hear about it. Thanks so much again for taking the time to watch this video. I would ask that you would share and subscribe if it's been a blessing to you. Please help me get the word out. I'm just here trying to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. Peace.